You have before you the release of, or the first copy of the compendium known as What Works for Latino Students in Higher Education. It provides you with information about the 3 recognized programs that you will hear more about today, as well as other programs and departments that were nominated for 2008 that show evidence of accelerating Latino student success. We do this in a public way because it is part of our effort to say to everyone, there are things that even now, with the current financial situation, with the policy challenges that many people on the ground face, that make a difference. And it is up to all of us to know what they are, to use them, or at least explore the use of them on our own campuses. These days, more often we deliver strategic information for decision makers, because the objective is to be tactical and action-oriented in this question of what accelerates Latino student success.
So often we spend all of our time just trying to pull all the resources we can to do the work we do daily. And we don't have time to step back and reflect and really tell our story so that others can know what's been working in one community that could be replicated in another, so that people can see the real tangible benefit of the investments we're making. And so this effort of Examples of Excelencia is a very, very important one.
What we try to do is really focus on doing what I call ignorance abatement, and that's really getting people to pay attention to this population, what our strengths are, as well as our needs, and more importantly, how they can take action to get engaged and to make a contribution. And that's the reason that we do it, not for its own sake. And you see before you 3 people who I think are very well grounded in their communities and the data that are in their institutions and have chosen to take action. And that's what we want to celebrate with Examples of Excelencia, but in this venue, focus on what it means from a policy perspective and from DC. What does it mean? And we know that means replicability and scalability. What does it mean to get to scale? You're looking at an institution that is not nationally known on everyone's lips, but is one that is doing its work day in and day out. And I hope you notice from both of these institutions, and you'll see when I talk to Tony, that they are tracking their students. They know the data, and they know who they're serving. And they're able to tell us these stories for that reason. So it isn't that they're serving them by accident or by default. And it's important to think about that as you think about practices that are replicable and scalable, that there is an intentionality about their practice that does make a difference.
Somewhere between 50 and 55% of students who enroll in the pre-graduate school internship, who are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, are either underrepresented minorities, that is Latino, Native American, or African American, or first-generation students, that is their parents did not graduate from college. That is a pretty amazing statistic, and I want to talk about that statistic and why it is an indicator of the effectiveness of this program. Okay? The statistic is significant because at UT Austin, and this kind of coincides with your statistics, Deborah, at UT Austin, only about 12% of our graduate students are Hispanic or African American. Only about 15% of our undergraduate students are Hispanic students, and only about 4 to 5% African American. And yet we are more than doubling those populations within our pre-graduate school internship, and it's not by chance. The students, when we interview them, when we survey them, they do self-reportive data, are indicating that because we've created this space for them to discover what they want to do with their lives, not just a template of here's what you need to do if you want to go to graduate school, but here's a space where you've got to figure out what it is you want to do, what the culture of graduate school might be, and how you could contribute to an academic or a non-academic community.
Many times we have seen problems and we try to tackle them by ourselves, the institution by themselves. I think it's important that you start looking around your neighborhood and see. We have a lot of support. I'll give an example of one group that just approached us. There's a program called Medical Hands That Heal, and they send nurses to Latin America, Central America, and to South America. Now that we have graduates, this year we send 2 of our graduate students went to work as nurses in El Salvador, and 1 went to Nicaragua. So sometimes we think locally, but we can also make a global impact. So,
I came as the head of the program about 10 years ago, and I said to the faculty, we need to have our students write. We need to have our students write in every class, in every design studio, in every class. We need to have them write. And they said, write? This is architecture. What's that about? And the idea is that if we could get them to kind of identify an idea that they were working with, to kind of establish a position. And actually we've been working, we assign writing, what we call rovers to the different design studios, and we work across disciplines at the university to get to improve writing skills and math skills. And I think that now some of the other programs at Woodbury, other design programs, are starting to embrace this idea of writing, because I believe that's why our students are getting into graduate school. I believe that that's why our students are getting jobs that are in leadership, because they're able to make a good argument. By the time they do their thesis in their 5th year, they have adopted issues that are really pertinent about sustainability or about their particular culture. And so I think, believe it or not, writing is one of the things that makes our program really strong.
Programs like these are really ones that show us that when you take innovation, determination, and you pair those against a challenge, you can really accomplish a lot in terms of changing the dynamic. And listening to these stories and reading through some of these stories, it's really a wake-up call to some of the creative ways we've got to think better about how we can approach these achievement and performance issues for Latino students, not only in the classroom, but once they leave, and engaging them in a workforce that they really can be a part of in a more dynamic way in the future.
In 1972, my father graduated with a PhD in counseling psychology from Kent State University. At the time, he was the first African American to receive a degree in that program at Kent State, and he spent the rest of his career working in higher education as a college administrator, trying to create opportunities for minority students to have a successful experience in higher education and graduate on time. Here's the issue. While the number of minority students, Latinos and others, who are going into higher education has increased since the early 70s when my father started his career, and we need to continue to focus on increasing those numbers, the percentage of minority students who are graduating remains impermissibly low. Less than 15% of Latino students and African American students and other minorities, Native American, Asian students are graduating from higher education. I certainly stand on the shoulders of my father and his colleagues. Prior to coming to the Walmart Foundation a year ago, I worked for 18 years in higher education on similar kinds of efforts. Many people in this room have been working for 30-plus years on these efforts. It is time for us to get it right.
If it really was a simple thing of you read about a program and then you do it, we would already be doing all kinds of righteous things across the country. It's harder than that. So together, we will provide ways for people who do this work, the masters at it, to elaborate what they do, how they do it, how they can achieve these results, and you could too.
If there was one piece of advice that you would give to either an institution or a congressional staffer who's looking to accelerate Latino student success and what they can do, what would that one thing be? And let me start here with Tony and then end with Rick.
I still going back to, if you're going to be successful, you have to have a clearly identified need. And it has to be succinct, and it has to be clear, and it has to be well understood, not only by your institution, but by your community.